Ashes. Sam Billings' benevolent sprint is very different from the long and lazy trips of the past. When his playing career is done, a future as a grade 1 geography teacher awaits. Just an observation, Australia is a real big place. Sam Billings, Kent's itinerant wicketkeeper batsman, tweeted midway through a 500-mile, 9-hour drive from the Gold Coast in Queensland to Sydney to join England's injury-stricken squad. Billings should be so lucky. Modern itineraries offer players little more than the routes between hotel and cricket ground. No chance the journalist, even if of a literary persuasion, writing the kind of travelogue-cum-cricket diary that Alan Ross penned on the Ashes tour of 1954-55, resulting in, which is among the most cherished of cricket books. Then, England's players spent longer playing warm-up games than the entirety of this Ashes series. They played 7 matches before the first test and then 11 more in between tests before the 7-month epic was complete. One of them, in Newcastle, New South Wales, was where Billings stopped off to dial into as England battled for a draw in Sydney. Billings' call-up encapsulates the chaotic nature of this Ashes series and the realities of modern cricket. England's wicket-keeping crisis comes at the end of a tour, and they have had, at one stage or another, 7 wicket-keepers on the continent of various degrees of competence. Jos Buttler, Jonny Bairstow, Ollie Pope with the main squad, Ben Foakes, James Bracey, Jamie Smith with the Lions, now returned home, and Billings with Sydney Thunder in the Big Bash League. The 30-year-old Billings was 90 minutes from boarding a flight to the UK, having completed his time with the Thunder. He was readying himself to join England's T20 campaign in the Caribbean, which begins 3 days after the last test finishes in Hobart, recalling the winter of 1929-30 when there were 2 England teams playing simultaneously, one in the Caribbean and one in New Zealand. And Ashley Giles still thinks that one man can coach England across formats. Billings' fiancée is already in the Caribbean awaiting his arrival, which will now be delayed. Test debut pending. Buttler returned home on Monday to have his fractured finger attended to. Bairstow's participation as a wicket-keeper is unlikely given his thumb injury, and Pope's career will be as a batsman not keeper, competent though he was as a substitute in Sydney, taking 4 catches in Australia's second inning. A debut for Billings looks more likely than not. His development in recent years has been shaped, helped or hindered by the disjointed nature of the cricketing calendar. He has played for 1 team in the Pakistan Super League, 2 each in the Indian Premier League and Big Bash League, which, along with England white ball duties, has meant limited time in first-class cricket recently as a keeper. By my reckoning, he has kept wicket for Kent in 1 first-class game in the past 3 years. He has played 58 limited overs games for England. That he has rarely been a first-choice pick in any form of cricket behind Buttler, Bairstow, and Foakes has also meant a lot of time doing 12th-man duties. As he said, it would entirely in keeping with his career were he to drive for 9 hours and undergo a mini-period of isolation before boarding a flight to Hobart, only to carry drinks in the final test. Both teams are staggering to the finish line, running on empty. The effects of the rapid turnarounds were plain to see in the bowling of Mitchell Starc, for example, who has led Australia's attack magnificently, but who looked, unsurprisingly, weary on the final day in Sydney. The nature of the schedule was always likely to mean an Ashes series where neither team would be able to play its strongest 11 every time, which defeats the object somewhat. As well as Starc's workload, Australia must think carefully about Scott Boland, who played the 5th day with a rib cartilage injury after falling on his follow-through earlier in the game. Usman Khawaja is undroppable after twin centuries and is likely to replace Marcus Harris at the top of the order. Travis Head will return to the middle order. Josh Hazlewood is a non-starter, owing to a lingering side strain. England's players travelled to Hobart on Monday buoyed by the successful rearguard that means a whitewash will be avoided. It is a small mercy, although sober assessment of the 4th test would stress that Australia declared in both innings, and that there were 2 sessions lost to rain. England were second best by a yawning distance. Solutions will become clearer over the next few days, as Ben Stokes and Bairstow are assessed. It seems inconceivable that Haseeb Hameed will keep his place, which may lead to a recall for Rory Byrne. Can James Anderson get through 4 consecutive tests at 39 years of age? How will they balance the side if Stokes cannot bowl? And will Billings get a long-awaited debut? When Billings set off on his long card journey from the Gold Coast, he did so from Carrara, where he had been playing for the Thunder at a venue that recalled a different era. It was there on the 1990-91 tour that David Gower decided to hire a tiger moth and buzz the ground at the moment that Robin Smith made 100 against Queensland during a low-key tour match. Those were long, languid and sometimes liquid tours, full of light and shade. Test matches were no less intense, but there was time for fast bowlers to rest their bodies and batsmen to rest their mind. Now, it is a mad dash that leaves casualties strewn along the way. Once upon a time, Billings might have had scope for a little sightseeing en route, Stradbroke Island, Nambucca Heads, Byron Bay, maybe.